This is Derek with Denver Yoga Underground. Hey, a question came up in YTT last night. Student asked, so is yoga a religion? And I had that same question too. I rewind back 30 years ago when I was first exposed in India, and that was precisely what I was wondering. And the answer is mostly not, but there's a little bit of gray area in there as well. Here's my perspective, or it's kind of the distinctions I draw, in that religion is more of as a function and as a body of belief is more of a reflection of a particular culture or cultural leaning. And yes, there's some historic doctrine that gets referenced as well. And conversely, with yoga, while there may be some parallels in the kinds of things they're describing in religious doctrine or in yogic doctrine, the leaning or emphasis is more on actualization, or you could say spiritual realization. It's less about believing a particular doctrine and more about more of an inquiry or an investigation or exploration with methodical practices and techniques into the deeper mysteries of life that invariably bump into this kind of spiritual dimensions of the creation and cosmology. And religion kind of describes some of those things as well. So there's some things that are parallel about religious doctrine or yogic approach, but fundamentally yoga is distinct in that it's not so much about whether you've adopted a certain belief system and therefore you're in the religion. It's more of a question, more of an inquiry, more of an exploration. And there's methodical steps to the process, like meditation or the asana practice and so forth. And so as an example, you could look at a particular, say, Hindu ritual. Their name for themselves is not Hindu. That was more of an anthropological label that got thrown on them. But their name for their faith is Sanatana Dharma, which means the virtuous law or the virtuous order, and eternal virtuous order. And you could look at a ritual that comes from, quote, Hinduism, and it could look a lot like one that a so-called yoga ritual. Same Morti, same deity on the altar there. And here's the part where it comes back to your kind of motive or relationship to the process of the ritual. Are we doing the ritual purely out of cultural obligation because our grandparents did it before and that's how we did it? We grew up in our household and here I go through the mechanical steps. Versus more of a yogic process is to approach it more as a kind of reverential meditation towards opening to forces or presence that's greater than my own individual finite egoic self, and to approach the process with all my senses, the incense, the lights, the flowers, the water, the ghee, the cookies, all of it as like a kind of meditative process or unfolding. And in which case it takes on more of a yogic type of dimension, because it's like a 3D, 4D, 5D dimensional sensorial immersion that actually kind of bears the fruit of realization, and which is a cornerstone of the yogic process. It's not so much about the outer trappings and superficiality of ritual and customs, but more about coming face to face with direct realization. You can see the sun is like creeping in on my little world here, and I'm backing up in the corner. Seems like a good time to say goodbye. Thank you all so much for my subscribing friends, old and new. Thanks, and look forward to joining you again sometime. Peace.